Hi, I'm Megan Leggett with Sincere Shipping. Today I want to talk a little bit about the importance and the use of motor vehicle titles when exporting vehicles from the United States. And before I begin getting into the details, I want to just mention three key facts. First, any document you submit to Customs in support of exporting the motor vehicle has to come from the DOT. Second, any document has to have two copies, and if the original document is two-sided, then both sides have to be copied. And lastly, the U.S. Customs definition for a vehicle that has to be cleared for customs is that it's a self-propelled vehicle. And their definition for self-propelled vehicle reads that it includes any automobile, truck, tractor, bus, motorcycle, motorhome, self-propelled agricultural machinery, self-propelled construction equipment, self-propelled special use equipment, and any other self-propelled vehicle used or designed for running on land but not rail. It's really important to keep that in mind because there are some shippers that try to get around that rule by taking out the engine or taking off the tires and saying, oh, this isn't self-propelled, this is a conglomeration of parts. It's not advisable to do that. You can get big fines for it. I think like a $10,000 fine or something. Really ridiculous. So it's important to remember their definition of self-propelled vehicle, and if what you have is a self-propelled vehicle, please make sure that the company you're using is actually filing it as such, and that you have provided the necessary documentation. The next thing is, let's go over basic requirements for exporting, and that is simply that the vehicle itself must be presented to customs, i.e. taken to the port, and that the title must be presented to customs. The title has to be presented to customs after the vehicle is in the port, and there must be a VIN. That VIN has to be presented to customs, and of course the VIN's going to be on the paperwork, so it goes without saying pretty much. There's three different types of titles. That is U.S. titled vehicles, foreign titled vehicles, and untitled vehicles. Let's go over U.S. titled vehicles first because it's really the simplest. You've got three types. Vehicles that were issued an original certificate of title. In that case, make two copies, you're done. Vehicles where there is a third-party ownership, like a leasing company or a finance company. And in that case, have that company write a letter on their letterhead, original signature, says you're allowed to take it out of the country, you're good to go. And then third, a vehicle that's owned by a government employee. If the government employee is exporting the vehicle in conjunction with an overseas assignment, he's relocating because he's doing some work overseas for maybe the CIA or the FBI or such. In that case, he does not have to present the vehicle and the title to customs. He only has to provide customs proof that the other agency, CIA, FBI, etc., has approved the export. And then there's foreign titled vehicles. It's pretty simple also. It just means that, again, make two copies, and in this case, if it's in a foreign language, you have to have a translation, and that translation, of course, has to have two copies. And then it gets a little bit trickier with untitled vehicles, of which there are four types. The first is when there's no title, but there's a statement of origin. This occurs primarily, actually only really, for new vehicles, newly manufactured vehicles. You just submit that statement of origin as if it were a title. You can also have newly manufactured vehicles where there is no certificate of origin. And in that case, you have to find the law that says that state or that jurisdiction doesn't make certificates or statements of origin. In that case, you find that law, present the law to customs, present some support that you own the vehicle, like an invoice or something, and of course the copies, and you're good to go. Third, a vehicle that's just issued a scrap or junk certificate. In that case, treat that junk or scrap certificate as a title, make two copies, you're good to go. And finally, vehicles that aren't issued any type of title or certificate. that aren't enforced. So maybe like sometimes the auction, if you buy a salvage vehicle from an auction, they'll give you a junk certificate, but it's not from the DOT. So be careful. You might get a certificate that's just not enforced, and in that case, find out from the state if they make certificates of destruction or something. If they don't, like Wisconsin doesn't, then find that part of Wisconsin law that says they don't make it, bring that to customs along with a bill of sale or something that proves ownership, and again, you're good to go. It's that simple. You need to prove ownership, and you need to prove that it's not stolen. Regardless of whether you're going to use a statement of origin, a title, a bill of sale, whatever, the key is there kind of is a hierarchy. You start with the title. If that's not available, you go to certificate of origin. And then if that's not available, you go to junk certificate. And if that's not available, you resort to providing documentation that can't be found. And then you use also, in conjunction with that, some sort of invoice or bill of sale. Customs determines the authenticity of the documents that are submitted, and by doing so, they prove that the vehicle hasn't been stolen. Once they determine that authenticity, they're going to stamp the documents that they're approved for export. Usually, they're going to give the original back to you as well as one of the copies. In the case where the original title document was presented to and retained by Customs and then can't be found later if you need it, the exporter's authenticated copy of the original documentation serves as evidence of the compliance with the reporting requirements. So, really pretty simple. Just a lot of regulations, but overall pretty simple. Don't buy a stolen vehicle. Don't try to ship a stolen vehicle, and prove to Customs that you're not shipping a stolen vehicle. Any other questions about titles, please feel free to contact me. I and my staff have vast knowledge. Every state, every country, if you've got a title problem, we can solve it. So please just leave a message, send us an email, a private message, whatever you want to do, we'll take care of it. Thank you, and I will post another video soon.